A strange thing happened to me the other day when I was in my classroom. I was circling the room, helping kids individually, and I noticed something when I just set my tea down onto the table. As I walked around, it was vibrating, and I kept hearing this boom. And then I realized all the kids are sitting down, and that boom was me.
Welcome to the Teach Bigger podcast. I'm Chris Pratt.
I'm Chris Mosley.
And I'm Tyler Lamont.
Hey, first of all, we just want to say thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. We know that you could spend your time doing absolutely anything, and the fact that you are listening, whether you're at the gym working out or riding in the car or you're laying in your bed fixing to go to sleep and this is what put you to sleep. I mean, whatever you're doing, we appreciate you taking the time to tune in. So we are excited about today's program because we're going to talk about something that we tend to avoid a lot. And I think it's a topic that's super important. And I think that it's going to help a lot of people, just that we start the conversation. So just to kind of tell on myself, I would say that I am someone who has been extremely up and down in my physical health over the past few years. And by that, I mean most of my adult life. And it has been a wild ride for me, but I've learned a lot along the way. And so just in talking to the guys over the past couple of weeks, we've kind of been noticing some trends, and I've just been noticing how I feel and how other teachers feel and what they say. And have you ever noticed, like, I'm talking to you guys, like, have you ever noticed that teachers tend to always talk about that they're going to go on a diet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It makes us feel better.
It makes you feel better because you're trying to do something. But
you're planning. Because you're planning.
But
we're good planners.
Right, and they're usually
right,
and they're usually talking about it while they're holding a donut.
Right. But it was in the lounge, so we just picked it up.
Yeah, it was free. If we don't eat it, it's just gonna get thrown away.
We have to stop right now and just say the teacher's lounge is the most dangerous place.
I know.
Maybe in America.
That's why I don't go there anymore.
Come to us and help us celebrate this and help us celebrate that. We had things out for Valentine's Day, for Easter, for spring break, for Christmas, everything. So if you just stay out of there, you won't have a plan.
You know who's across the hallway, literally 3 feet from my door?
The culinary.
Yeah, and you know what they do every single day at the end of the day? They come over and she says, "Miss Lamont, we got some leftovers. You want some chicken fried rice? You want some egg rolls? Do you want some spaghetti? Do you want some chicken? Do you want some cookies?"
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I do. Please give it to me.
Yes to all the above.
So here's the thing. I think that what we're going to talk about today is a topic that most people avoid because it can be very sensitive. It can make people upset. And it's just one of those taboo topics you just don't really want to talk about,
But you listen. You need to talk about it before early. It's better to get through that and talk about it sooner than later, because if you don't, you'll look back and wish you did. So
right. Yeah. Okay. So look, let me preface this. We have done several episodes in the past few months about teachers' mental health and their well-being, and just taking time for yourself, and really just taking care of yourself emotionally and socially and things like that. And we've given all kinds of tips about, how to take a break and how to unwind. And you can go back and listen to some of those things. But, I found this statistic that was put out by the University College London Institute of Education, right? And it said something that I think is pretty staggering. Okay, according to their research, and I think this was done in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong about that, but it doesn't really matter when it was done. It says this, that 1 in every 20 teachers, which is about 5%, suffer with a mental illness that has lasted or is likely to last more than a year. And I just think that's, when you think 1 out of every 5 teachers, 1 out of every 20, which is 5%. 1 out of every 20 teachers. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that is staggering to me. And, we are not doctors in any way. We're just teachers, right? But we care about our fellow colleagues and we care about the teaching community. That's really why we're doing what we're doing. And so we just felt it to be important that we tackle this issue, that we talk about health and we talk about well-being. And being that we have spent some time discussing mental health and social health and emotional health, the thing we haven't talked much about is physical health. So we want to dedicate today's program to discussing physical health and how it affects us as teachers. Because, you know, what is that saying? Like when you go to college, it's like the freshman 15 or whatever.
Freshman 15.
Freshman 15. I think it's when you start
35.
teaching,
It's a first teacher of 35. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what I gained. I gained 35 pounds my first year.
And we would always gain weight in the fall.
Right. So
Yeah.
here's what's crazy is as a teacher, I mean, like I can honestly say probably without a doubt, I've lost 1,000 pounds in my life. And that's not healthy to be going up and down all the time, but it happens. And so we want to spend today's program talking about the good, bad, and the ugly, addressing those topics that most people don't want to talk about, and do it in a way that you know us and you know we're coming at it from a heart of love, and that we want to help each other out and build community around this, that we do start to help each other and we hold each other and support each other so that we can do our best and be healthy. Because at the end of the day, if we're not physically healthy, then we can't do our jobs, you know? So today we want to just really take a jump in and talk about physical health. And we want to talk about kind of our story and share our story. And then we're also going to give you some tips that I think can help encourage you and motivate you to move yourself toward a healthier lifestyle. So if this is something that you're interested in, today's program is for you. And if this is something that makes you feel a little cringy and you're like, I don't even want to deal with this, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to hear it, then just listen to it and just like have an open mind and see where it takes you.
If you just want to hear our struggles, then just hold on the line.
Right, because what we're going to do is we're going to share all this information out of a heart of failure. This is going to be like a whole lot of struggle in our journey.
Oh, well, let me dive in first. Let me go ahead. Pass the microphone here. Okay. Picture it. I'm a young teacher looking for a job, right? So after the first, so like the first time looking for a job, it was involuntary because of the budget cuts, right? So like that the whole summer, I really just spent time looking for a job, and I ate. And I didn't think about gaining weight. You know, I didn't. You never do. You never do, right? But you just go, you just eat and you're just happy. You're happy, and picture it. I lived about 45 minutes away from my interview that I was going to. Okay. So, I'm like, okay, I'll put my shirt on and then my pants on. Right. And then I'm not going to put my tie on until I get there, because I'm not, I have some sense of comfort for 45 minutes, Right. So I drive for 45 minutes down there and I get in the parking lot. And this is a shirt that I've worn the previous year to school because, as a first year teacher, you wear a shirt and tie. I don't know what I was thinking back then. Right. And so I get there and I'm in the car and I go to button the shirt. And ladies and gentlemen of America and all over the world, the shirt did not button. And it's not because I washed it and it shrunk. It's because I had grown and didn't realize it. And you know what stayed the same? My clothes. And what didn't? My neck. So, let me tell you what happened. So I had to go into the interview. I had to just close the button, right? Just enough, and pull the tie all the way up.
Yes, sir.
And so it just appeared to be intact. And so like the whole time in the interview, I'm like, I'm sure hoping that this button doesn't come open, because that'll be embarrassing. But after that moment, I'm like, I decided to get on the scale, and I hadn't gotten on the scale in a while. So much that I had to actually buy a scale. Wow. I had to buy a scale. And, the number was like a number I hadn't seen before. Right. And, and I always felt like
there were 4 digits instead of 3.
I got on and they just had lines, it said to be continued. But I was pretty shocked. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that, it was that high. I was eating terribly. I was like right out of college almost still, I felt like. And I ate the same. I could eat fast food like 2 times a day.
Mhm.
Like if you said, "Hey, we're gonna have a burger," I'm like, "Good. What we gonna have for dinner? A burger. I'm good." You know, because I had money for the first time. You know, I wasn't a college student anymore.
Mhm.
You know, I worked with Pratt, so we all we did was eat.
Yeah. I mean,
We
Oh
did,
yes, let me tell.
and
I'm fat because of Pratt.
I'll get a bumper sticker that says that. And so, you know, and then that's when I first started realizing I always felt like I was in some type of shape because we've always done marching band, and our marching band was pretty extensive. And then in college, my fraternity, you know, stepped, and I was the head of that. So like we did a lot of that. So I felt like I was in some type of shape. But whenever you leave college, you have to make time to work out
mhm.
when you start to get in the real world. And if you don't make time, it doesn't happen. So like that the physical part of my life had always been already incorporated into my day because it's what I did. Now it wasn't, you know, and so you don't think about it, and then you just realize you have money to eat now, and you don't. So anyway, that was kind of like the start of it. So I started to, you know, started to run and try to like do diets, and you know, it varied, and I was able to lose some weight, and that's kind of like Pratt. Like I've experienced going up and down, you know, from that point. But that was the first point where I kind of just started to say, oh, I have to be more aware because if you don't, it's a certain point. It's always a point that you realize, like, oh, this is not like something's wrong. Like I have to make a change. It's always a point, and I think once you get to that point, then you're like, you have to start making a mental shift to, you know, make some changes. But that's just kind of the start. But since then, you know, I've done some, you know, different things, and I've tried to exercise more, and I've incorporated some stuff, seen
Well,
trainers and whatever. But
okay, let me ask you this. So,
okay.
were there other, now looking back, were there other
Mhm.
warning signs, or was like your shirt the first moment that you realized, or were
Mm-mm.
you like
Literally,
experiencing?
no,
Mhm.
no. Like I was okay. I stayed
So
on the
you were
third
like a
floor.
frog in the pot.
No, so here's the thing. I stayed on the third floor, so I mean
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. I was always winded going up the stairs. That never mattered. So like I'm winded going now. Like I can ride for miles and miles, and I'm still winded coming up the steps. So it doesn't matter, you
Okay.
know.
So
So
that it's
it
the
it,
high
it
altitude.
really it's just hard
It's
to
the
go
hi-
up
it's
steps.
the high altitude. I understand.
I realized that it was just that moment that realized like something was different. Like something didn't change, but I changed, and it's like say, hey, you know. Um, but it was nothing before then. Like I felt fine, you know, because if you eat burgers, you just know your bodies know what it feels like to have that in you,
Mhm.
so you don't feel bad or anything like that, you know. So um, it was literally just that moment. That's why I remember it. So it's something so small, but that's what I remember. Then I made a change after that, you know.
Gotcha.
So, but anyway, that's kind of like the beginning of how, you know.
Well, I had a similar situation. So my whole life, I've always been pretty lean. I've always been pretty average, pretty a little athletic. Especially at the end of my college career, I felt pretty up there. You know, like I was about 135, 140 pounds. I was running 3 miles a day, or trying to do some things. Maybe not 3 miles a day, maybe 3 miles every other day. But I felt like I was in shape. It was my escape from everything that was school. And then I did my student teaching.
Mhm.
And I didn't just do my student teaching. I did my student teaching with Chris
See,
Pratt.
I knew my
Mhm.
name was coming. I could feel it coming.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we get.
And
Hey, Tyler, we get bumper stickers.
we should, because
I'm
you
fat
know,
because of Pratt.
No, I got fat with Pratt.
I got fat.
Yeah,
Okay, now
yeah,
here's why. Because I've always eaten out. I've eaten fast food. If I stopped eating
yeah,
Whataburger back then, I'm pretty sure they would have gone bankrupt with the amount of
yeah.
money that I was dumping into it.
Right.
But I never really like gorged myself. I just
Mm.
kind of ate food. And then I met Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a long day of marching band, been teaching 12 hours, we'd go to Whataburger, and he's like, "What are you gonna get?" And I was like, maybe some chicken tenders, 3-piece. And he's like, "Oh." He's like, "Tyler, we just had a long day. You better go treat yourself. You need to
Uh
do it.
huh.
You need to do it big."
Uh
And the
huh.
next thing I know, I went from the 3-piece chicken tender to the 6-piece
Uh huh.
to the double meat Whataburger.
Uh
And
huh.
then
Yes.
I'll never forget. It was after I got my full-time job, and it was right around spring break. My pants didn't fit anymore. And I now was going to school without my pants, they're slack, so they have that little metal hook, and then they have a safety button in case that metal hook goes away or whatever. I was relying on the safety button because I couldn't get it to latch, and I was like, something's not right here. What is happening to me and to my life? I've never been like this before. Is it because I'm stressed? So then later that night, me and Pratt again, we went to Whataburger, and he's like, oh, what are you getting? I'm like, oh, I'm doing it big. I'm doing this. And I sat down and I saw my large fry. I saw my medium fry. I saw my number 1 Whataburger with extra lettuce and mayonnaise and avocado. And I also saw my honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich on Texas toast. And I thought, all this food is for me, and this is why my pants don't fit. And then I looked over, and Pratt had twice the amount of food.
Come on now.
Okay, maybe not twice the amount of food, but he definitely had more than me. I wanted that for the record. He had more than me, and he finished it, and I finished it, and I was like, "This is a problem."
See, the problem there. I'm just gonna piggyback off what Tyler said, is because Pratt likes to eat late. Like, he'll be fine. He'll eat like nuts and berries all through the day, right? And then the sun goes down, and then like you hear that wolf howl in the background, like, woo! And then like he is ready to go to town, like it's Thanksgiving dinner, every like in the nighttime. So that's where it came in, and we would go, and we would be tired. We always got along well, so we just wanted a fellowship without kids around.
Yeah. Yes,
and it's like, let's just go eat and be comfortable, and then we would just go to town.
Yes,
and then you would go to sleep after that.
Yes, and then I would just immediately go to sleep. See, now here's the thing. The difference between me and you, Mosley, is that happened to you, and you were like, I need to make a change. That happened to me, and then I kept doing it. So I didn't really start to try to make a change until I had to do the interview for the job that I have now, and it was virtual. And I remember things like, oh, okay, no big deal. I don't need to do anything. I don't even need to wear slacks because they're not going to see my legs. They're just going to see above me, right? And I put on my shirt and my coat for a suit, and it didn't fit at all, like not even close. Like I'm talking Tommy boy, fat guy in a little suit, like just not working. And that's when I decided, I was like, I can't do this because I can't afford it.
Well, I think we see a common denominator here. That's all for today's show.
Don't be friends with Pratt. He'll make you eat and eat and eat.
One time you told me this, Tyler, and it actually made me feel kind of good. And you said I made eating fun.
You do. You make eating fun. You make it an experience, and you're an encourager. You encourage people to eat food.
He does.
It's like he's like,
and you know what? He'll even pay for it too. He'll be like, I'll pay for it. It's fine. Good.
Exactly. He'll be like, ooh, you sure you want that? Because that's good too. Why don't you get both? I bet you can eat it.
Yeah, come eat with me, friend. But he is the only person that I know. And I think this whole show is turned around a whole different way. Like,
we're done. We are done at this point.
Listen, we need to retitle the show. He's the only person that I know would go like to two extremes. He would like, for lunch, he's like, I'm doing good. We're doing well. Like he'll eat like a salad with like homemade dressing, right, and like sunflower seeds. And then he's like, you know what? I'm just hungry. I'm gonna get a triple cheeseburger, and then stop for ice cream or something like that and dessert, on the way home. Yeah. He's like, I just wanted more. I was so hungry.
Look, the biggest extreme was when he decided. This turned into a roast. So
I know.
Go ahead, because I got some things to say. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So he started fasting. Which I now fast too, and we'll talk. I guess we can talk about that here in a moment. But of course, it's Pratt, so he took it to the extreme. He wasn't just fasting for a day; he fasted for an entire week. Okay, and you're thinking, "Wow, that's pretty crazy." Like, I hope he was safe, whatever. Well, do you know how he broke his fast? He went to Taco Bell and he ate it up with.
Wait, I didn't know. I don't think. Did you go to Taco Bell to break your fast?
Tyler would remember better than me, I'm sure.
I sure do.
He probably threw up.
he's like, let's go talk about. I was like, Pratt, you haven't eaten in a week. You did this to like cleanse your body of all the nastiness. Why don't you try some chicken broth and like some bread or something and like ease back into it and only eat healthy things?
And
He's like,
he ran for the border.
he was like, you know what, man, I'm just hungry and I want to get some food. And then he ate all this Taco Bell, and I was like, you are going.
It didn't make you sick?
No,
I don't think so. He's got an iron stomach.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Now that you know a little bit about me,
this is from where we came, right? I think that's important.
From whence we came. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's move off of the topic of me for a moment, although it seems to be popular at this moment.
Right.
And I'm going to come back in my own defense here in a few minutes, I think. But I found some statistics that I want to share, because regardless of my bad eating habits and all the, buffoonery and shenanigans I've brought the guys
And look at you
into,
now.
Yeah. So I was looking, and I was doing a little research for this, and I found some things that were pretty interesting. So U.S. News and World Report put out a survey back, and it was actually in 2013, and so a few of these things that I found are a little bit older, which is interesting to me, that there's not a whole lot of current stuff, but I guess COVID or something, I don't know. But I think that if anything, you can just imagine that this trend has continued, because I don't see, especially in America, people's health just skyrocketing for the better. But it says that market research firm Harris Interactive conducted a survey for a career builder, and they surveyed 3,690 full-time workers online, right? And below, and then they gave a rundown of the current job, and the people reported how much weight they had gained since they started that job. Okay. And so what's interesting is the top jobs where people had gained weight were administrative assistant, engineer, teacher, nurse practitioner or physician's assistant, IT manager or a network admin, attorney.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. And then you've got like attorney, judge, and legal professional, and then machine operators or assembly production kind of people. And then you've got biological, physical, and social scientists, right? So when you look at that, it's kind of interesting, because you have some jobs that are very much desk jobs, right? I mean, a judge is not up moving around a lot. I mean, they sit on their chair, and that's what they do all day.
And judge.
Right, and they judge people, right? And so an administrative assistant, 9 times out of 10, that's behind a desk, behind a computer, sitting. But then you look on the other hand, and you have like nurse practitioners and physicians and teachers, and you look at that and you go, well, that's not the same kind of job. Like, these people are moving most of the day. So what does that mean? And so out of those top jobs, the teacher reported the third highest amount of weight gain. So the highest was the administrative assistant, okay? And then next was engineer, and then teacher. And that was actually tied with nurse practitioner and the IT manager, the network administrator, okay? So when we look at that, this is what they said in the report. They said the environment we work in today is causing more people to be tied to their desk and work, and unfortunately not able to find the time to get up and exercise and even walk around, right? But the desk job may account for why IT workers and lawyers gain weight, but plenty of other factors may explain why more active workers like teachers and nurses add pounds. And it's because 35% of those workers attributed weight gain to eating more because of stress, followed by eating out regularly at 26%. So the two main contributing factors to these other professions that are not sedentary in nature is that the stress followed by eating out all the time is what's causing their weight gain. So I found that to be very interesting and troubling, and I could totally relate to it.
Yeah, I want to add, because the stress, that is it. And then because as educators, and I'm sure nurses too, you're so exhausted, you don't, like the time you have, you don't want to cook, you just want to eat. And the time you have free, you just want to either rest or do something, fun. Because I kind of see cooking as like a chore, that's more things for me to do. And you have to clean up after that. So it's double chores, if I have time, that's another task. So I think that's the running thing too.
Right.
Well, and also think that it has to do with a poor eating schedule. A lot of times, teachers, even though we do have a designated lunchtime, there's a lot of things that can disrupt that, or that can move it to another time, and then dinner at the same. And I can only imagine that nurses and other things are exactly the same way. So then, if you have an irregular eating pattern and you're eating late, and then you're eating bad on top of it, then it just it just all kind of stacks on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I just found this to be very true. And for me, and the stories that the guys were talking about earlier, it is very true. Like, because for us, like after we had worked, and we would work from like, 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, nonstop, day after day after day. And you just want some downtime, because if you just go home and go to bed, you have to wake up and do it again. So you need something in the middle to make you feel like you lived your life a little today. And so for us, it was, let's go out and eat, because we can chit chat, we can talk, we can have fun,
laugh,
we can have some food.
not be on.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that became, it was like comfort, and it became a social outlet. And I will say, I'm guilty. I'm a social eater. Like, to me, I can go days without eating and not even think about it if I'm busy working. But as soon as I want to eat, I want to call somebody up and say, hey, let's go out, because it's social, and I think there are probably several people that, share that. Okay. So talking about the stress factor. Okay. So Penn State University in 2017 put out a report. They did some research, and this is what they discovered. I'm just going to read this to you. And if you're interested in any of these reports that I found, I'm going to link them all in the website at teachbigger.com. So you can go there and read these for yourself and kind of get a feel for it. But it says teacher stress has many negative consequences. Teacher stress is now at an all-time high and affects teachers' physical health. The majority of teachers report feeling, now see if this is you, are you in the majority? They report feeling under great stress at least several days a week, a significant increase from 1985. Okay, this was from 1985 to 2017. So according to a national survey, 46% of teachers reported high daily stress during the school year. This is the highest rate of daily stress among all occupational groups, tied with nurses, also at 46%, and higher than physicians, which are at 45%. Less than 1/3 of K through 12 teachers report currently feeling engaged in their job, and engagement drops significantly during the first few years of teaching. Okay, so then it goes on to say this, that teachers' psychological stress also affects their physical health. In a study of high school teachers, 46% of teachers were diagnosed with excessive daytime sleepiness and 51% with poor sleep quality, compromising health, quality of life, and teaching performance. Chronic work stress and exhaustion among teachers is associated with negative changes in biological indicators of stress, and chronically stressed teachers show atypical daily patterns of psychological stress reactivity. So teacher stress is linked to poor teacher performance and poor student outcomes. According to a study, elementary school teachers who have greater stress and show more symptoms of depression create classroom environments that are less conducive to learning, which leads to poor academic performance among students. So think back to the earlier statistic that we talked about, that 1 in 20 teachers is suffering from some kind of mental health problem. And then whenever we see that teachers that exhibit signs of depression create classroom environments that are less conducive to learning, which makes sense, but this is a real issue that we're facing, right? So teachers who report greater burnout early in the school year have classrooms with more behavior problems. When teachers are highly stressed, children show lower levels of both social adjustment and academic performance. Most strikingly, a survey of over 78,000 students in grades 5 through 12 in 160 schools showed that higher teacher engagement in their jobs predicted higher student engagement, which in turn predicted higher student achievement outcomes. So I'm bringing all this up to simply say this. Our health as educators is directly having an impact on our students' ability to learn and to perform.
I believe it.
I kind of wanted to, are you about to say something else, Brett?
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to kind of go to the root here. So, there are reasons, like it was like, get healthy, get in shape. This year is all about health and blah 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 blah. I think once you get into the reasons, it's a couple of reasons why you're like, you know what, this year I'm going to focus on my health. Okay. Uh, and I think once you start to realize this, because the whole thing I believe is like a mindset shift, and if you don't have your mind there first, then everything else is not going to follow, because it's too easy not to. So like, think about it. What are the reasons you want to like get healthy or get in shape? Like think about that. One is like, you know what? I want to look better. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Why do you want to look better? Because it makes you feel better, maybe, or whatever. That's one thing, another one is like, you know what? I want to be a good example for my children, be a good example, like, your children that you teach, your children that, your person, your own children or anybody. I want to live longer or whatever, or like I want to not have diabetes or, any of the underlying issues that you get with like, excessive weight gain and stuff like that. To counteract that, either genetics and stuff like that. You think about that, and then the other one is it's about how you feel, I think. Whenever I first started like changing how I was eating, my close friend, he started he would eat organic food. um, and I was like, so what's the difference about organic food? Like, why would I try that? And he said this to me, and I never forgot about it. And then when I started, it definitely was a difference. He said, you know how you feel whenever you get out the shower and you feel like you're clean and fresh. He's like, when you eat clean food, you feel like that on the inside. Mm. And I'm like, oh, like that made total sense to me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it. And if you always eat bad, you never know like what level your body's functioning. Just because that's what you've always done. But whenever you change how you're eating, it's like it clears up things, and you feel that you can run at a higher level because your body gets good fuel. It's like clean fuel. And so my reasoning behind like, striving, the key word in that sentence is striving to be as healthy and active as possible, is the feeling part. Mm-hmm. Because I feel that if I do that, I operate at a higher level. And then especially, what we do, I have to give, like I have to be able to perform, and the higher level I'm running at, the better I can perform, and the longer I can perform, and like, the clearer that I'm thinking, and, I'm on it and I'm able to give the kids what they need. So, and that's just like anybody in my life, like the better I'm eating, I always know how I feel. If I exercise, and then I like to exercise in the morning, because then you can't go back and forth about it. You can't get tired. I always know, and people around me know, because like I guess my eyes are a bit more open. Like, you can just tell. That's another reason why I try to get it out the way. But one last thing. So I realized this more in quarantine, because quarantine forced us to stop moving.
Right.
Like those days that we had those unknowns, like I don't know if we're ever going to get back to normal at all. Like mm-hmm. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to be in the classroom again and do band or like do, teaching, you had those moments you're like, oh my goodness, like this doesn't happen. You get those like low moments,
Yeah.
And then I would be inside. I would feel low moments until I would go outside and exercise. As soon as I did that, it would be like, oh, everything's fine. So if I went outside and then got my blood flowing, I was totally fine after that. Like it went from, I don't know about this, to like, oh, it'll be fine. Like immediately after that. And so that was another proof, more proof that like, I guess your endorphins and stuff like that, how it makes you feel, for me, trumps anything else. So you got to think about that. Like, what are the reasons to do it? And you got to find your reason. Maybe it is different for everybody. Like, you want to feel better. Okay. Or, hey, you want to look better. You know what? I want to buy some more clothes. Whatever it is, you find that you don't have to share it, but you find that reason early, because that'll be your motivation to keep on going. But I feel like the feeling good, like operating on all cylinders, for me, trumps everything.
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
so I think you're really onto something. Someone told me this when I was long time ago. I don't remember when it was, but it was definitely a long time ago. They told me energy makes energy. That if you try to walk up the stairs one step at a time and you dread it, by the time you get to the top of the stairs, you're probably really winded and like you kind of feel bad. But if you go and you put forth the effort and maybe even skip a step, by the time you get to the top of the stairs, you'll still be like a little winded, like a little bit, because you definitely put forth energy, but you're not as drained as you were when you were being lazy about it. Energy makes energy. So if it happens to me all the time. Like I'm always more tired when I've been sitting around the house doing nothing but watching Netflix compared to if I went and
Mm-hmm.
like ran or walked or like
Yeah.
did something outside, because my body's not being forced to produce any type of energy. So I think there's a lot that has to say to what Mosey was talking about, is that that feeling, because that endorphin rush, the all of those things. But I'll tell you, this is what happened to me during quarantine. Is I felt like I finally had all this time on my hands to like actually go work out, to actually do these things. And when I was doing that, I started noticing that, like when I would eat bad. Like if I just ate a burger or whatever versus eating like grilled chicken, like something fast food versus whatever,
Hmm.
I was actually really able to tell that. And then after, I think it was like the first month, and this is where it really hit me. I saved over like $400 because I wasn't eating out. Because I had the time to like cook, and the pants not fitting, the shirt not fitting, the tie, the energy, like whatever. Those were all big moments. But what made me turn it around was when I put pencil to paper and I realized how much money I was wasting on fast food and how much that was translating to me feeling bad. I was basically paying somebody to make me feel bad instead
Wow.
of being cheaper, saving money, and then feeling better.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm paying somebody to put toxins in my body. Like
Wow.
that's weird.
Yeah.
And,
That's.
yeah, and as far as that goes too, like the cooking thing, there are alternatives to that. Like there are great meal prep
Mm-hmm.
options, and I realize that's a good way too. Like I go online, I order it's portioned right. It's like I don't know what they do. Like they portion it where like it doesn't spike your insulin or whatever. That's keep you balanced longer the day and whatever. Like I did that too, and that really helped because all you have to do is put it in the microwave and it's fresh, not frozen.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah. So that's another reason I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. They're like breakfast options, lunch options, or whatever, and that it doesn't taste like frozen food because it's not. There are a lot of different options, and you can still eat healthy, and if you don't want to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're creatures of habit, especially me. Like if you want to mess me up, like all you have to do is displace one little thing that's on my routine, and I'll be a little discombobulated all day,
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm a creature of habit. And one of the things that I did was like, okay, I'm going to bring my lunch and I got to make that a habit. And sometimes I'm able to do it, sometimes I'm not able to do it. But then I realized what other things did I need to do. So I made, and I know that you're probably going to think that this is like, oh well, sad poor Tyler eating by himself. I go to the gas station, whether I bring my lunch or not. I go to the gas station, which is literally just right down the street. Maybe I'll get a bottle of water, maybe I'll get some food there, maybe I'll just eat whatever I brought. And I roll down my windows if it's a pretty day, and I just listen to music and I sit by myself quietly and I eat my lunch. And that right there does a world of difference. Now I know that's more of a mental thing than it is physical, but the fact that I'm not eating fast food while doing that adds another element to it. It's like I prepared this food because now I've made lunch instead of a social activity, instead of something that I'm trying to cram down my throat. I've turned it into an event of positivity,
Mm-hmm.
of mental
Hmm.
positivity, of physical positivity, of everything because I'm eating healthier. The birds are chirping. I'm in my car, so I have Bluetooth, so I have surround sound music playing or whatever, and I just kind of sit. I just kind of sit there and I enjoy that 10-15 minutes or whatever, and then when I'm done, throw away my food, and then I go home. I go back to work. So I think what helped me a lot is I turned lunch into a positive event for all aspects. And I actually get really upset if something happens and I'm not able to do that because it gives me something to look forward to during the day. Because I don't just have my food. I have my environment that I really look forward to. It's my quiet place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know this is too. So if you have trouble sleeping, which normally I don't, thank the Lord, I usually just go, but sometimes I'll just wake up and what either I'm thinking about list or, like you just wake up and like, why am I up? But here's what I've noticed. Like I try to work out in the morning, because I get out the way, usually like to work out fasted, like with nothing in my stomach. Like I've done those long rides, 40 miles, 50 miles. They've all been fasted because I don't like to feel heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But so if I work out in the evening, it works out. The benefit of that I feel is one, it's kind of like a stress reliever of the day. And then I always sleep so good that night. Like I after I work out in the nighttime or whatever, and I go and I take a shower, of course, and then you go to sleep. I don't wake up one time during the night. I'll sleep straight through and
Yes.
to the alarm. And I don't know. I'm sure there's there's a good explanation for it and the science behind it. But every time I do that, I realize how good I sleep. So that tells you something right there. I don't wake up one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I even if I I might wake up like once, just turn over or something. Like I don't remember doing any of that whenever I work out like in the nighttime.
Yeah. So, okay. So, getting back to kind of just thinking about teacher stress and health and things like that. So I was going to show you guys these two other things. Like I found two other studies that were based in other countries. And what I discovered was that the problems that teachers have in America are very similar to the problems that they're having in other countries. So one study was based out of India, right? And just to make a long study short, the results basically showed that 43.2 of the teachers that were, tested, and they did an extensive study, right? 43.2% of them were declared to be a level 1 obesity, right? While 20.4 were at a level 2 and 6.6 were at a level 3. Okay, so clearly 43% of that's almost half of the teachers are obese, and so that they're in a totally different country, but we're seeing some of the same things. And then the last study that I looked at was out of Brazil, right? And this one's really interesting, and it kind of is a segue into what I was going to share. It says that in Brazil, the results of the present study show that a high prevalence of overweight or obesity in the population studied 47.2%, so they're even higher, 47.2 of the teachers. This prevalence was more pronounced among men and among subjects who reported a lack of regular consumption of fruits and vegetables. Then it goes on to say the relationship between eating behavior and overweight or obesity is well documented in the literature, and in the present study, the prevalence of overweight and obesity was lower among subjects that consume vegetables and fruits, and that is in agreement with other studies that were done. Fruits and vegetables comprise the food group that most contributes to weight control and the prevention of diseases. The adequate intake of these foods reduces the risk of chronic diseases. And
Wait, hold on. So you mean everything my mom's told me from birth that I need to eat my peas and broccoli? I should really eat my peas and broccoli?
yes, your mama was right. Eat your fruits and
man.
vegetables, right? So, and the guys have kind of lovingly shared my journey already, and undoubtedly I am and I was a major foodie, right? And I love eating. It's a social activity, and at the time period they were talking about, I was literally eating nothing but fast food and sugar all the time. And I don't think it takes a genius to know that's unhealthy, right? But I mean, if you stop and think about it, think about your day and what you ate today. And the scary part is if you're eating food that you didn't prepare yourself, the chances are that it is so packed with sugar and you don't even know it, right? I mean, McDonald's even puts sugar in their meat, for goodness sake, and people don't realize that. And so you can do a lot of research on that on your own. But so during this time that they were talking about, I actually developed cancer. And so I had two basically spots of skin cancer that came up. And it's really funny because I've done a lot of research, as a result of this experience. And the reason I don't first say that I developed skin cancer is because I think people tend to minimize skin cancer. They're like, oh, yeah, well, it's skin cancer. You got a sunburn, right? But what I discovered in my studies was that cancer is cancer no matter where it is on your body. And it's just given that name based on its location. So, for example, if you have cancer in your liver, it's liver cancer, right? If you have cancer on your skin, and there are different kinds of skin cancer, right? But cancer is cancer because the base of what cancer is, it's mutated cells, right? And so no matter where it is in your body, it's the same effect and it functions the same way for the most part. And so I really started to do a lot of research about it. And one of the things that I discovered was that cancer can only survive basically on sugar. And that really got me to thinking because I started to do some observations on my own. And I noticed that every time I went through a phase of a day or two where I ate a lot of sugar or where I ate a lot of processed food and a lot of fast food, all of my tumors would start to flare up and they would get worse. And then if I would go several days without that, not that they were healed, but they didn't flare up and they weren't as bad. So I started to kind of see that correlation. And so anyways, it got to a point where I thought I could maybe control it with my diet. And so that was why I actually did the 6-day fast, because I was trying to just completely rid my body of any kind of toxins. And I really enjoyed the 6-day fast. We can talk about that some other time. But it wasn't a detrimental experience. It was actually a really positive experience for me. And what I learned from that was that basically the cancer that I had was really advanced. And so in 2019, I went ahead and decided to have it removed surgically. And so thankfully they were able to do that, but it was a very traumatic experience for me. Like, I had one spot over my eyebrow and then I had another spot behind my ear. And, so I literally almost lost my ear. In fact, the surgeon who did my surgery, he told me, if you had been older, I would have cut off your ear. He said it would have been so much easier. But because you're young, I didn't want to mutilate you. So, I mean, basically, that's what he was saying. And so, it was not a good experience, but I learned a lot from it. And so, as I was going through that process, and on the day I was having my reconstructive surgery, I really, because I had spent a lot of time in prayer and just trying to figure out, like, what is going on and why did this happen to me, right? Kind of thing. And I just started to realize it's because of my diet. And I mean, looking back, it's like a no-brainer. But when you're unhealthy, you don't realize that you're unhealthy sometimes, And so I had this huge moment where I realized this is not good. And so prior to having my surgery, I had done a whole lot of research, and I started to realize exactly what this Brazil study was showing, that fruits and vegetables have the power to improve your health. And so as I went into that surgery, I made the decision that I was going to go 100% plant-based for the rest of my days. I didn't put an end on it, but I was like, I have no desire to go back to my old way of eating. I'm just going to do plant-based diet, and I want to see what the results are. And so it's been almost 2 years now that I've done that. And what was interesting was, I had my surgery, and I wasn't I had gotten overweight, but I don't think I was obese. Maybe the numbers would say something different, but I had gotten overweight and whatever. And what was crazy is, after I had my surgery, I couldn't do any physical activity for several months. And in those few months, the first 2 months that I went plant-based, I didn't do any extra physical activity aside from just walking. And I don't mean I went on exercise walks. I mean, at work, walking around and just doing my normal tasks. And by going plant-based in that time, I lost 30 pounds. And I was literally in shock that my body did that without me even having to try. It was just because I changed my diet. And so I've been doing that for the past couple of years, and I haven't lost any more weight. And it's like my body just kind of knew when to shut off and to stop, and I've maintained. But what's interesting is since COVID, I wasn't able to go to the dentist, and I wasn't able to go to the eye doctor and all those things that we try to do every year, you know. And when I went back here recently, the past month, for my first checkup since COVID, which also was my first checkup since I started a plant-based diet. To make a long story short, I had gum recession from when I was very young. I had a bunch of periodontal problems, and my gums have actually started to grow back, and my recession has reversed. And then my eyesight has actually gotten better and stronger than it was before I had a plant-based diet. And literally both of those two doctors were looking at me like, that is so unheard of. Like, it happened. And they told me, they go, it can happen, but it is just like so rare that we very rarely ever see anything like that. So I realized that that's kind of just like a part of my healing process, and that's kind of a result of what has happened to me. And so I'm super thankful for that. And so, you know, that's kind of been me. Like for me, I've done a whole big change with my diet. I know you guys maybe have kind of cut out the fast food and stuff like that. For me, it was a change of my lifestyle. But as the guy said, like, I'm super drastic. So I either do it all or nothing. That's just the kind of person that I am. And so for me, I couldn't say like, well, you know, I'll just eat a hamburger once a week. Like, I don't do that. Like, you know, like I had to go like, okay, that's not what I'm going to do. And so I realized that's not for everybody. And some people like get mad if you tell them they can't eat a hamburger. They're like offended. It's not that, but no one can disagree that plants, fruits and vegetables, you know, and even grains and nuts and things like that, they add health benefits to your life. And so, you know, that may be something that you're interested in. I'd really encourage you to do the research. And, you know, there's all kinds of debate over it, just like there is with everything. And I don't think there's any perfect diet. But for me, it's working. And for me, that's what I'm doing. And so I will just take a moment to say this. You know, we had talked about earlier in the season that we were going down to one episode a week. And that was so that we could do some other things. And so one of the other things that I'm doing is I am starting kind of my own, I guess, for lack of a better term. Okay, well, I'll just say it this way. I'm starting a website and some, you know, content, I guess, YouTube videos and things like that, where I'm going to help people to cook and eat plant-based. And, you know, whether you want to go 100% plant-based and you want to say like, that's what I want to do, or you're just like, you know what, I would like to just kind of change things up and add some healthy food in my diet. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to teach people what I'm doing. Not that I'm a nutritionist, not that I'm a, you know, dietitian or anything. This is just what's working for me and I'm enjoying it. And so if you just want some ideas or to kind of spice some things up and try some new foods, this is going to be a way for you to do it. So I would encourage you. I'm going to be launching that here probably within the next few weeks. And so if you're interested in that, I would love to know, because I want to know like that people want to learn and they want to hear things like that. So if you would head on over to the Teach Bigger website, and it's teachbigger.com, and there will be a button on there on the homepage that it says like, hey, I'm interested in the plant-based thing. Okay. And I'm going to call it the plant adventure, because for me, this has been a major adventure and I'm just enjoying every minute of it. So like, you know, you can click on there and say, hey, I'm interested in the plant adventure, and you can basically just sign up, and then I'll know that you're interested. And as soon as I launch it, I'll send you an email and let you know. And then, you know, we can engage in that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's kind of where I am in my journey, and that's what I'm doing. I know Mosley's done a whole lot of things, you know, with his exercise habits, and, you know, he's like a professional mountain biker. And I mean, he goes on all these trails all over the state of Texas. Every time you look at his picture, he's somewhere else in Texas riding a bike somewhere. That's good. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's about figuring out what works for you and moving forward and being healthy. So,
yeah. Well, you know, he'll say, I don't know. I know you've been doing like a lot, you know, of new cooking and stuff like that. It's not been one thing, you know, that you've made that I haven't liked.
Yeah. I will say, like, people who like to eat learn to cook. And I love to eat. And so I figured out, like, okay, if I'm going to eat plants, then I'm going to make it taste really good. And so, you know,
I'm pretty sure there'll be some good stuff you come up with. Though.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I would love to share, you know, what I'm doing. I'll share my recipes with you guys and just make it fun. So,
and so you're all or nothing as far as that goes. And there's people that are like that. Me, myself, I feel like, I'm not like, hey, let's eat a salad. I'm not like that. I don't get excited about
I don't
salads.
either. I don't either.
I will eat one, but like, in addition to what I'm eating.
I know. Yeah.
But I do like a good, to eat good food.
Yeah.
One year I gave up, meat and meat, all meats for like Lent, as fasting and stuff.
Right.
Then after that, I haven't been a big meat eater, but I do every now and then. So like I've done that. That's been part of like how I've been doing. Like at that point, I was like, you know what? I think I could go vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, pescatarian is a thing. So I really mostly do like pescatarian diet, though the Mediterranean diet. I guess you would kind of call it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that and my stuff is in moderation. Like I monitor closely. Like I'll have a good meal here, and then I will cut back. And like right now, I can rarely say I eat 2 times a day, like more than 2 times a day. It's like if one meal is smaller, one's bigger, and it kind of limits it out, and then I fast and I work out sometime, so like that's how I do it. If I want to try to cut back some, I'll make the portion smaller, I'll change the time of day that I eat or whatever. It's just, in moderation, because I feel like whenever I feel like I take a whole bunch of things out and it's never going to come back, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you feel like you're dieting. You can't, I feel like for me, you can't feel like you're dieting. You have to feel like this is how I'm eating.
Right. No, I agree.
So like that's how I've been able to go. And then like every now and then, like I don't crave sugar like I used to. And that was in the Thai don't fit days,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I still will eat it, but usually now here's what I feel. I feel whenever I eat something that's super sweet or whatever, I feel really bad after. And I think, like I feel like really bad, like wake me up in the night bad, because I think it does like my blood sugar, like it spikes it too much, because I don't eat sugar like that on a regular basis. So when I have something like that, it like sends it way up or something like that, and then it crashes me or something. So that's another part about like feeling like I don't like feeling like that. So I've been staying away from that,
Right.
But how I've been maintaining is like, the exercising and then the fasting. Like I don't eat after a certain time, which kind of helps me. But I do eat, but I make up for it when I work out, and then I just sometimes I don't eat as much, and I just kind of change it up, and then it's just all a process. And you fall off the bandwagon. You eat something bad. You're like, you know what? I want something fast food today. You can do that. You just have to monitor and like realize, okay, if I do it this time, I can't do it again tomorrow. And we always say that once you start one time, it's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you just have, if you want to say, you know what, every now and then I want to have a burger. You just have to have enough will to say, if I do the whole shebang today, you can't do the whole shebang tomorrow.
Right.
Because then you won't be able to put your tie on.
And if you're somebody like me who is all or nothing, you may not be able to do the whole shebang. I just can't. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I'll say that like I noticed, and it totally makes sense after listening to you guys and now that I'm older, but I remember like being younger, high school, early college, and whenever my mom would actually cook real food, or friends would come over to my apartments and we'd cook real food, I would have like a nice plate and it would fill me up like really, really quick.
Yeah.
But then in like an hour or so, I would be hungry again.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that I'm someone who's really, really in tune with their body. Like I feel like I really listen to myself. Like if I eat too many sweets, like I tell myself I've eaten too many sweets, or like I shouldn't have this. I try really hard to listen to it. And I feel like when I eat not dirty, when I eat clean, that my body burns it faster and that I actually end up eating more. And not that I eat more and I keep it on, but like I eat more and my body's like, I don't know, maybe it's like trying to make up for all the lost stuff that it had and it's trying to burn off all the nastiness, or maybe because I'm still walking around being active and running around the classroom and doing everything like that. So it's like, ooh, this is like real energy. This is good stuff. You know what I mean? And that's always been my struggle with it. And I remember that was my struggle with it during quarantine, because my big wake up call was the amount of money that I was spending on it. And then when I was trying to cook, I gave myself food poisoning because I cooked chicken wrong.
Wow.
For times, maybe
Wow.
even more during quarantine, to the point where it was a challenge that I was like, I'm either going to eat clean or I'm going to die because I don't know how to cook. Like it was going to be one or the other. And
So just say no to Tyler's cooking. Got that?
Right.
Check.
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
there's this one time I made this chicken. Oh, you couldn't eat it. It was black, not because I put it in the oven so long, but because I put so much seasoning on it.
Blackened
And
chicken.
after I
Nah, man.
smothered it in mayonnaise and rolled it in a tortilla, it was okay, but then it made me real sick.
You're so nasty.
Yeah, you're disgusting.
Well,
It was
anyway.
gross.
Okay, so I mean, as we said before, we're not health experts, but this has just kind of been our journey and our realization and some of the things we do. So to kind of wrap up the program, I hope that we can give you a few, motivational, I guess for lack of a better term, tips. If you're kind of going like, I probably do need to make a change or whatever, like I want you to think about it from this perspective, okay? So first of all, kids need healthy role models, right? A lot of times the kids that we teach, they don't have that healthy role model at home. And your own personal kids need healthy role models. And kids don't do what you tell them. They do what they see you do,
Yes.
And so we need to be demonstrating that, for one, if not for ourselves, then definitely for our students, okay? Second of all, kids need teachers that have energy, that have enthusiasm, and that are focused, right? And just like we read in that study, whenever a teacher is not in good mental health, and a lot of times bad physical health leads to bad mental health, not every time, but a lot of times, then we are not being who we need to be for those kids, and we don't have energy, and we don't have enthusiasm, and we're not focused, and our kids are performing poorly as a result. So that's a major thing that we need to consider. Are we doing our best job, or are we doing things to our body that are causing us to not be able to do our best job? Okay. And then for my people out there that are like, oh, I don't want to eat broccoli or whatever, like I get it, because I was that person. And for me, I was the least likely person ever to go on a plant-based diet because I never ate plants. I hated vegetables. I would eat fruit. That's fine because it's sweet. But like I didn't want to have anything to do with any vegetable except green beans and corn and like potatoes. That's it. I don't even know if you consider any of those things vegetables, but that's all I wanted, right? I grew up in the South and I was a meat and potatoes boy. That was me, But here's what I learned through the process is your body, it will crave what it knows. And if you stop feeding it a certain kind of food and you start feeding it something new, in a matter of time, when you get hungry, when you have cravings, when you go to eat, you're only going to think about those things that are familiar to you, and you're going to forget about those things that were so bad for you. And I mean, like, I'm at a point now, and it was hard. The transition was tough. Like, and it was funny because I thought I was going to be addicted to sugar, but it actually only took me about a month to not be addicted to sugar. It took me almost 6 months to not be addicted to cheese. And I was in shock about that. And like, it took me 6 months before
That's my issue.
Right. It took me 6 months before I saw cheese and didn't want it. But then I came to a point after about 6 months that like people were eating pizza or whatever it was. And I was like, no big deal. I'm okay with that. And it just took some time, but it was like finally my brain released that. And now I don't even think about that kind of stuff anymore. So your body will crave what it knows. Next thing is this, and Mosley kind of hit on this. You have to be intentional about exercise, because if you just always wait and say, well, I'll just exercise when I feel like it, Tyler said, energy begets energy. Like that is, when you move your body and you have energy, you want to move your body and have more energy. And, I've heard people all the time, well, I'm just too tired to exercise. Well, there comes a point where you have to have that willpower and you have to say, I'm going to do it because it's what's best, not because I feel like it. Because if we only do what we feel like, we'll never do what's best. Yep. Sometimes you have to do what's best, not how you feel, right? And then I would also say this, like you have to take time to prepare your food. And I know it's a pain and we all have busy lives, but fast food will lead us to a fast destruction. I mean, if we're not careful, convenience is going to kill us. And so I would encourage you and I can say this with conviction because I lived this life and it almost killed me. Like I almost lost appendages of my body because of my diet. And so I would just really encourage you to consider that and just take it seriously. And then this is so important because we've talked about it in a joking way today, but you got to surround yourself with people who encourage you to be healthy and to eat healthy. Because if all you do is hang around with the old Pratt, I'll tell you, you need to buy another cinnamon roll, and you will.
You will.
I will.
And
Because
he even heat it up for you. He'll
Right.
tell you that the donut tastes best when you heat it up for 7 seconds in the microwave, and not anymore, not any less. 7 seconds is what you need to. That's the
true.
words that come out of Pratt's mouth.
I know a lot of tricks, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't surround yourself with people like the old Pratt, because the old Pratt will make you fat.
Make you fat.
Right. And that is it. Okay. But you got to surround yourself with people who have the same goals and who are trying. And that doesn't mean that you know, if you eat something bad or whatever, you're a failure. It just means that you pick back up and you keep going and say, this is a lifelong journey. And I want to encourage you, like, enjoy the journey. Like, it doesn't have to be miserable. And that's part of why I'm starting this channel and doing the whole plant adventure, because I want people to see that eating healthy can be exciting. It doesn't have to be, oh, now I got to eat a salad. I don't hardly ever eat salads because I don't care for salads, right?
Amen.
But I eat other things that have the same things that salad has in it, but I just eat them in a different form. So, last thing, I want to leave you with a quote by Hippocrates, right?
I want to add something to that list.
Go ahead.
Then I'll let you finish with your philosophicalness.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want to add something too. So go ahead, Moses.
Okay.
So I think that this is something that Pratt would say too, but it's something about working out. Okay, that's a mindset thing. Okay, it's about the reason why we don't do it. Okay, it's because one, it's hard, and then it's hard. Okay, like working out is not easy, and then it's like you get to a point where you can't do it anymore, and you feel like a failure. But you realize if you keep going, like, you're able to do something that you didn't do before, and then if you don't stop, you keep getting stronger and stronger, and you go further and further. And I was on in a cycle class, and like we were doing something, and like the coach, she was like, you know what, you're starting the day. I'm on a crazy crew. Like we go at 5:30 a.m. To do and she was like, you started the day off like doing something hard. The rest of your day is gonna be a piece of cake. And so that is like in lifting weights. Like when you lift weights, you go to a point of a failure where you can't go anymore. And if you're in the wrong mindset, you're like, man, I'm a failure. No, you got to this point. And the next time you'll be able to do one more. So I think that just sets the standard of your day, and like how you think is to do hard things. And whenever you work out or whatever, anything else after that, it's all like a mindset. Like, man, I've done that this morning and pushed myself to a point where I couldn't anymore. I can take this call. I can get in front of these kids and get this lesson done, or I can deal with parents, or everything else. It's a mental thing. And you set your mental bar high and your physical bar high too. And then I think if you start developing that mindset, you'll go far.
Yeah, and just before you jump in, Tyler, I want to say this, that like, don't be ashamed or discouraged to start small. Like, you have to start where you are. You may not be ready to go to a gym. You may never go to a gym. You don't have to go to a gym to be healthy. Like, gyms are expensive. Gyms to me are the biggest donation system in the world. I donate so much money to the gym down the road, like, because I don't ever go to it, but I do other things, but I can if I want. So, you just got to make that decision. And I've recently discovered this. And if you have little kids, like elementary school, for sure, I want to encourage you to do this. Get with your kids, turn on YouTube and type in kids virtual fitness. And there are so many fun fitness activities you can do in your living room with your kids. And I did it the other night with my girls, and they had a blast. We were running and jumping all over the living room. I was totally out of breath. They were out of breath, but it was fun. And so there are all kinds of ways to get yourself physically active. It doesn't have to be, I went on a 3-mile run, or I went to the gym and lifted weights. I mean, those are things to do. There's nothing wrong with those things. But it's about small, practical steps that you can take.
Yeah. So to add on to what Pratt said, let me just piggyback off of him real quick.
Go ahead.
Is you have to lower yourself to your goals. And that sounds really bad at first, but what I mean by that is lower your pride to the goals that are obtainable. There are going to be a lot of goals that you're going to set that are only going to be big goals and big victories for you. Maybe that victory is that you didn't eat that Snickers. Maybe that
Yes.
victory is that you didn't eat any candy that day at all.
That
To
is.
me, I'm a person who does. I've never really liked sugar. I mean, I've
Hmm.
never really liked candy. I like a Crunch Bar every now and then. It's usually around Christmas time or around Easter. But other than that, I don't eat candy. So to me, that's not a big feat. But to you, that might be the biggest challenge that you faced all day, is that you are fighting that craving, that you wanted that. So don't feel ashamed that you met that goal or you had that victory. Lower your pride down to what are actual victories for you. And the second thing I'm going to say is thinking about it like your car. If you're driving like a normal car, you're not going to put water in the gas tank. You're not even going to put diesel in the gas tank, and you're not going to put the wrong type of oil in the engine or any of that type of stuff, because if you do, what's going to happen? It's going to break down and it's going to fall apart, and you'll probably have to go get a new car, especially if you put water in the gas tank. Well, guess what? If you put the wrong fuel in your body, it will break down too.
Yeah.
But the only difference is that you can't go get a new one.
Right. Well, that's a beautiful segue into this quote that I want to leave you with by Hippocrates. And Hippocrates was considered the father of medicine, right? And he said this. He said, "Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food." Right? And so my advice, and this is something that I've done and I would encourage you to do, and it is time consuming, but you have to just be determined. Do your research. Find out about what are you eating and what can it do to your body, and is it helping your body, or is it harming your body? And then find out what are the things that I can consume that are going to be best for me, and do those things. Because I mean, why wouldn't you want to do what's best, right? And this whole thing, what we're talking about today, this is a part of like just teaching bigger, like doing bigger things. And if you want to be great in the classroom and you want to be great, in your profession, in your career, and you want to make an impact on kids, it starts with what we do with ourselves. It starts with us and our health and our mental health and every aspect of the things that we've talked about today. So I hope that you've enjoyed listening today. I hope that you have kind of a fresh perspective. Maybe you're motivated, maybe you're encouraged. Look, we want to hear your story. And if this has helped you, or if maybe you're struggling and you just want somebody's advice or opinion. Like I said, we are not doctors and we are not certified to give you any kind of medical advice. However, we can encourage you. And like I said, nobody ever got fat from eating fruits and vegetables, right? I mean, like nobody was unhealthy because they ate healthy food. It doesn't happen. And so just make those little changes, but we'll encourage you all along the way. And we want to hear your story. And maybe you have a similar story to ours. Maybe you radically changed your diet or your exercise and you've seen the results. Then email us and tell us the story. We would love to share that on air. Even if you don't want to leave your name, you want it to be anonymous. Like, we would love to just hear the story, because I know that so many people struggle with this around the world, and our jobs are demanding, they're stressful, we get frustrated, and a lot of times our health suffers as a result. And so we need to lift each other up and help each other and encourage each other so that we can be the best that we can be, and so that the kids get the best of us, So thanks for listening today. I want to encourage you to check out the website. Again, if you're interested in my next endeavor, which is the Plant Adventure, and I'm just going to be teaching people how to enjoy cooking healthy and how to try new foods. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to check out the website, teachbigger.com, and I'm going to have a link on there where you can basically contact me and let me know that you're interested, and I will keep you updated with that when it's going to launch. And the more people that I get interested, that will probably really motivate me to get this thing up and running really fast. So we're trying to get that done. Also, we'd love you to engage with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So our name is always Teach Bigger, so you can find us that way. You can email us at info@teachbigger.com. Guys, am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so. Go follow us, like, subscribe, and if you need to contact us, slide in those DMs.
Yeah. And last thing, it's the month of April, and so I started a little challenge called the April Alliteration Challenge. So if you like writing and you want to write a little poem or something using alliteration, I'm looking for your alliteration, and we'll share it on the show. And we want to hear what you come up with. Just something fun to do, a little creativity. So
what did you have a hashtag for that on Twitter so they can just write?
Yeah,
it and
we're
just
just
tag you?
just hashtag it. I teach bigger, and everything we constantly check that hashtag to see what people are saying and to see what's going on. So just hashtag it. I teach bigger, and we'll share your creativity. That'd be awesome. So thanks for listening today, and hope that you got something out of it, and we'll be back with you next time.